There seems to have been this sort of rift on the right regarding the Israel war, and it seems to be a sort of triple split. There's the hardcore Zionist, camp, like the, Shapiro, right? Then there's this sort of more isolationist, like Tucker Carlson, this isn't our war, why should we be giving any money to this? And then there's the third camp, which is not quite free Palestine, but closer than those two, like the Candace Owens, even Andrew Tate told Piers Morgan, it's disgusting what's happening in Gaza right now. And given that the Republican base seems to, for the moment at least, stopped the Ukraine war, right? There was this populist anti-war surge among the Republican base, and they cucked the whole party. They dragged the whole party. Now Lindsey Graham is saying no more aid for Ukraine until we help ourselves. Israel is a tougher lift because of everything that Israel represents to the U.S., but how do you view the sort of split on the right regarding this issue, and is it possible for a sort of anti-Israel war sentiment to gain enough traction in the Republican Party among their base to influence politicians? Because it seems like the answer is obviously no, but then again, 6 weeks ago, I'd have told you that would never happen regarding Ukraine, and it seems to have happened.
Yeah, I think it's such an important point because, I've had this fight with people on the left for the last 6 or 7 years since the emergence of Trump, which was really the thing that really finally kind of created this big breach between me and large parts of sort of the left liberals in the United States, which is, their view of the American right is like a caricature, the same caricature that the American right has for people who are on the liberal left. They don't understand the other side. They don't think there's anything authentic about them. They don't think they have any humanity. And so they think, oh, this anti-war sentiment is all a fraud. They don't really believe it. And I know that's not true. Donald Trump ran on a platform and saying things that no one could have ever said before in the Republican Party over and over about the Bush-Cheney warmongering, about neoconservatism and their toxicity and their evils. And it created this absolute sentiment. And by the way, Ron Paul was really the one who most exposed it. But you can go back to Pat Buchanan and kind of Ross Perot. You've seen this on the American right for a while. It took someone like Trump to really bring it to the fore. But there's absolutely way more space on the American right than there has been in a long, long time, probably in my lifetime, for an anti-war discourse, for the idea that war is usually fought for the benefit of global elites, never benefiting the lives of ordinary people. It's immoral. It sucks in all this money to enrich, the Boeings and the Raytheons of the world. And as you say, Israel is a different story, in part because you have a lot of evangelical Christians who are fanatical about Israel for cultural and religious reasons. You have American Jews, you have the national security state, all these factions. But I do think it's so notable that major voices on the American right, like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, have been willing to come forward and deviate on Israel. I can't remember the last time that happened.
Right.
You only had Ron Paul, and he was, go back and watch those 2008, 2012 debates where he would say these things. And the booing that erupted. Yeah. And so this is the hard work where you try and create common ground with the other side, with, different people. And it's not quick. It's not immediate. It's not easy. Obviously, most Republicans do support the American war effort in Israel, the U.S. support for the Israeli war and the Israeli war itself for a lot of reasons. But you create these openings and it grows. And I think the thing on Ukraine is so important because also what happens is war propaganda is extremely potent. It's a science. It's been developed over decades. And it's so easy at the start of any new war to just get people's emotions really jacked up. You show them Ukrainian grandmothers weeping about their family who was killed in an airstrike in a building. It's very easy to get people just based on what you show them and what you don't show them very riled up. But then over time, people start asking themselves, wait a minute, why are we supporting this war? Why am I watching all these dead Palestinian babies day after day after day that we're paying for? And it's a gradual, slow process. And Ukraine is the perfect example where there is no question this war would have gone on for many more years had it not been for the American right. The American right was the only place where opposition to the war in Ukraine had any meaningful representation, certainly in the Congress. And it has grown and grown and grown. In less than 2 years, it is now almost stopping the American war machine, the military-industrial complex's ability to continue with this war that, of course, they want to continue. And Israel is a much harder lift, as you say, but I do believe that over time, this is the first time that a lot of Americans are getting the real look at Israel, the U.S. relationship to Israel, how Israel treats the Palestinians. You know, a lot of people who are young didn't pay attention to politics until recently. A lot of people didn't pay attention until Trump. And I think there's a lot of people now questioning, and that you have, major right-wing thought leaders who are creating that space, is kind of giving the green light to people to start questioning these things in a way they never would have done 10 years ago.
Please clap.